Alright. Okay, this is the way you're going to receive the unit. It's kind of all closed up with a closure on this side. You'll have some packing inside that you'll need to remove. But just to open it, swing this out, and you note that there's mine is apart. But I sent it to you like this, with the sampling tube that goes out into the room and the impinger string that has a series of impingers. So you take it apart at this point right here, and you can take the whole assembly out. Now this is what you'll need to put the acid inside the impinger tubes. You take them loose at the collar by holding this and turning the tubes. You should only do these hand tight and not use any tools on them. And you'd remove all three of the impinger vessels. And I try not to touch any of the surfaces that will be inside the impingers with even gloved fingers. So you set these out on the bench, you would fill them up to half full with your dilute acid. My dilute acid, this is the high purity acid that we use, and we make a 1% by weight for us in a squirt bottle. So you fill these tubes up to half full. I already had one, but about halfway up, and then reassemble the impingers. And each one of them will have a charge of the nitric acid. And then let's go ahead and do this so we can see all three of them bubbling this time. Again, hand tight. And then the assembly goes back into the box. It's easier to work from the side. It's easier to work close to it on this side. And it fits in this rack. And then when you close it, it attaches to the vacuum pump and the rotameter that's included in the rest of the gas handling train. Okay, as far as that's got it reassembled, ready for use, now what you would need to do is plug it into the wall. And when you get it plugged in, you can see that the light in the timer illuminates, and you can see that it's set at 48 hours, 48.0 hours. Now the only step left to do is to close it with the sampling tube out. Well, before you close it, of course, you have to push the start button, and you can feel it and you can hear the vacuum pump running. And once you close it, you should visually see bubbling in all three of the tubes. And that assures you that there's no air leaks. If there were air leaks in the manifold above the tubes, you'd get one bubbling and another one may not be bubbling. So make sure that all three of them are bubbling. Position this tube where you want the air to go into the sampler, and it'll run for 48 hours and then shut itself off. After it's shut itself off, you can look through the window and see that 48 hours is again displayed on the timer. Anywhere during the collection of the sample, you'll see a number that gradually goes from 48 to 0. So after it's shut itself off, or even if you disconnected it, you could see the remaining amount of time. So what I need to know for calculations is how long did the timer run. Really the default is let it run for 48 hours, and I already know how long it ran. And then that is used in the calculation of the result. At the end, this would be off, and you would just unplug it from the wall. Again, remove this as an assembly, and then, you would one at a time remove these and empty what's in them into a bottle. The 3 bottles together will be 1 sample. So if you take 1 sample with the air sampler, you'll send me that sample in a bottle, and I already know the empty weight, so I can adjust the final weight when I get it to a volume that, again, is used in the calculation of the result. It's important that you give me a blank. That's why you have an extra bottle labeled blank, and all you do for the blank is transfer an equivalent amount of acid that was used for the sampling into the blank, and then I analyze it, and it is used in the calculation to account for any contaminants that were in the acid itself. Very important sample because we're working at very low concentrations. So once you get those transferred and the samples are secured for shipping back to us, you would assemble this back dry or empty. Doesn't have to be completely dry, but make sure it's empty. You probably should rinse the acid out if there's any remaining acid dry. Assemble it the way it was when you got it, with packing inside, and ship it back to us.